I'm going to ask everyone to please silence their cell phones. We'll have the call, invocation by Commissioner Moss, pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Gleason.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Dear Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather together as neighbors this evening. We thank you for this day. We thank you for the beautiful weather. Dear Father, we pray that you will continue to guide us and lead us in the path that you would have us to go. We pray for the less fortunate in our community. We pray for those that are sick, those that we know about, and those that we don't know about. And for those that have lost loved ones, dear Father, we pray that you will put your arms around them and comfort them as only as you can. And as always, dear Father, I pray for the men and women that sit on this board. I pray for our leaders in Raleigh and our leaders in Washington, praying that we would do those things that will be pleasing in thy sight. This prayer I ask in the name of thy Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Commissioner Gleason.
Here.
Commissioner Moss.
Here.
Commissioner Kaczynski. Present. Commissioner Way.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Going down to item 6A, proclamations. I'm going to be up here for a while.
See you later.
Brian, you come too, tonight. Proclamation commending the Creedmoor Volunteer Fire Department for exemplary service. Whereas the Creedmoor Volunteer Fire Department stands as a vital pillar of safety, protection, and community service, consistently demonstrating courage, professionalism, and dedication to face of emergency. And whereas on the occasion of a recent fire incident at a local Dollar General store, members of the Creedmoor Volunteer Fire Department responded swiftly and effectively, working under challenging and particularly dangerous conditions to contain and extinguish the blaze. And whereas their prompt action prevented further damage to property, safeguarded surrounding businesses and residences, and most importantly, helped protect the lives and well-being of community members. Whereas the firefighters exhibited exceptional teamwork, skill, and composure, reflecting the highest standards of emergency response, and bringing credit not only to their department, but to the entire Creedmoor community. And whereas the commitment of volunteer firefighters gives selfishly of their time and risk their safety for others represents the very best of civic responsibility and public service. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Creedmoor Volunteer Fire Department is hereby recognized and commended for its outstanding response to the Dollar General fire incident and for its continued dedication to protecting life, property, and welfare of the community. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens are encouraged to join in expressing gratitude and appreciation for these brave individuals whose service make Creedmoor a safe and stronger place to live. With witness hereof, I set my hand and cause me a fix to seal the city of Creedmoor the 7th day of April, 2026.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you again, and I just want to say that I've talked to a number of individuals from departments around this community, from Raleigh to Cary to Durham, and even Henderson, and I
I'll put our guys up against any of those people anytime. Just services they give and just outstanding training that's done in our department that puts them at the top of their game. Appreciate the support, Channel Creedmoor and everything, you know, commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Second proclamation I have is National Infertility Awareness Week. Whereas infertility is a medical condition affecting approximately 1 in 6 couples in the United States, transcending age, race, income, and background, touching families in every corner of our nation, in the homes of our own very own Creedmoor community. And whereas National Infertility Awareness Week, observed annually during the last 4 weeks of April, was established to increase public understanding of infertility, to reduce the stigma and silence that too often surrounds this diagnosis, to advocate for access to equitable, compassionate, reproductive care for all people. And whereas infertility carries with it profound emotional, psychological, and financial burdens, and those who walk this path deserve not only medical support, but compassion, dignity, and open conversation in the communities in which they live. And whereas advances in reproductive medicine, including fetal fertilization, genetic testing, egg preservation, and assisted reproductive technologies have made parenthood possible for millions of families who might otherwise never have had the opportunity to hold a child of their own. And whereas healthcare professionals, embryologists, nurses, physicians, and patient advocates dedicated to reproductive medicine deserve recognition for their tireless commitment to helping families grow and for the hope they provide for patients who often have no one else to turn. Whereas it is the duty and purpose of the city of Creedmoor to stand with its residents in moments of vulnerability, to champion health equity, to declare its commitment to building communities where reproductive health is treated with the same urgency, respect, and resources as any other medical need. Whereas open and honest community dialogue about infertility has the power to reduce shame, strengthen families, and to ensure that no person navigating this journey feels invisible or alone. Now, therefore, be proclaimed by Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins in the City of Creedmoor Board of Commissioners that the week of April 19th to the 25th, 2026 is hereby officially designated as National Infertility Awareness Week. In the City of Creedmoor, we call upon all residents, businesses, healthcare providers, and communities and civic organizations to join us in raising awareness of infertility, supporting those who are on the path of parenthood, and honoring the courage it takes to share one story. That Creedmoor be a city where every family joy is seen, respected, and supported, and witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand because of it is still the city of Creedmoor on the 7th day of April 2026. Yes, sir. Yes, you can. That was great. Let's see what.
Yeah, sure. I just want to say that infertility affects 1 in 6. That's about 1,000 Creedmoor citizens. So it's more prevalent than diabetes in the United States. So just going out there to support those struggling to grow their families. I really appreciate y'all's support.
Bless you. Thank you. Proclamation is honoring the life and service of Stephen Bissett. Whereas George Stephen Bissett, affectionately known as Steve, peacefully passed away on March 20, 2026 in Durham County, North Carolina. Whereas Steve was born May 23, 1938 in Greenville County, North Carolina. He was educated at John Nicholas in Oxford. And whereas Steve honorably served his country in the United States Army and the National Guard, demonstrating steadfast dedication to community and country, and served the public through his work for the McLean Trucking Company as a supervisor of cemetery services for the city of Durham until his retirement at age 81. Whereas Steve was a member of the City of Creedmoor Planning Board since 2012, contributing experience, wisdom, and commitment to veterans and community. And whereas Steve generously gave his time and talents as a coach and referee in football, basketball, and baseball, and as an active member of his faith and fraternal organizations, including First Baptist Church of Creedmoor, Leon Baptist Church, Masons, the Shriners, and Sudan Shriners Legion of Honor. Whereas Steve was known for his compassion, work ethic, love of family, devotion to community service, joyful hospitality, simple pleasures, mowing the perfect lawn, sharing Father Hill, and vacation with family and relief. And now, therefore, it proclaimed that I, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Creedmoor Board of Commissioners, hereby honor the life and legacy of George Steve Chet, and extend deep sympathy to his families and friends. In witness hereof, I hereby set my hand in course to be affixed to the seal of the City of Creedmoor on the 7th day of April, 2026.
Mayor Pro Tem, could I just say one thing about Steve? I just wanted to say something about Steve. Steve was on the planning board when I first was appointed to the planning board. We probably served together for about 6 or 7 years, and it was a pleasure. I went to your dad's wake and funeral, and I heard the wonderful things that were said about his grandchildren. And my wife and I are blessed with 11 grandchildren. Unfortunately, 9 of them live in New York. When I got home from that wake, I said to my wife, we're going to New York. And we went to New York to see all our grandchildren, because again, it was wonderful what they thought about their grandfather. Just thank you for being there.
It's my pleasure to extend two oaths of office to the dignity chief. Can you also come up?
It's funny when all the officers start looking like high school.
I look very young.
I, Adam Graham Rooker,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
to the true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina,
to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers
to the constitutional powers
and authorities
and authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support, maintain,
to support, maintain,
and defend the Constitution of said state,
defend the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent
not inconsistent
with the Constitution of the United States,
with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and ability,
and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Adam Graham Rooker,
I, Adam Graham Rooker,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will be alert
that I will be alert,
and diligent
diligent,
in enforce the criminal laws of this state,
and enforce the criminal laws of this state,
that I will not be influenced in any manner
that I will not be influenced in any manner
on account of personal bias or prejudice,
and personal bias or prejudice,
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially execute the duties
and partially execute the duties
of my office
of my office
as a law enforcement officer
as law enforcement officer
according to the best of my skill,
according to the best of my skill,
abilities,
and
judgment,
judgment,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Johnny Arthur Evans II,
I, Johnny Arthur Evans II,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I will be faithful and true, and bear true, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina,
to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
to the Constitution of the authorities,
which are or may be established,
which are and may be established,
the government thereof,
the government thereof,
and I will endeavor to support,
and I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state,
maintain, and defend the Constitution, maintain and defend the Constitution of the state,
not inconsistent
not inconsistent
with the Constitution of the United States,
with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Johnny Arthur Evans II,
I, Johnny Arthur Evans II,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will be alert and diligent to enforce
that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce
the criminal laws of this state,
the criminal laws of the state,
that I will not be influenced
that I will not be influenced
in any manner on account of personal bias or prejudice,
in any manner account of personal harm or prejudice,
and I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
execute the duties of my office
execute the duties of my office
as a canine officer
as a canine officer
according to the best of my skill,
according to the best of my skills,
abilities,
abilities,
and judgment,
and judgment.
so help me God.
So help me God.
All right, moving on to 6F, Chief Willis.
Mayor President, members of the board, it is a pleasure to stand before you tonight to recognize several of our police officers for their dedication and commitment to further their education and training after already having served several years in law enforcement. The North Carolina Criminal Justice Education Standards Commission offers the professional certificate program to recognize the level of competency of officers serving government agencies within the state. To foster increased interest in college education and professional training programs, and to attract highly qualified people into law enforcement and criminal justice careers. Eligibility for professional certificates is determined by a formula that combines formal education, professional training, and work experience as a law enforcement or criminal justice officer. Sergeant Joshua Gare graduated from basic law enforcement training in spring of 2015 and has been a member of Creedmoor Police Department since July 6th of that year. During his time in Creedmoor, Sergeant Gare served as patrol officer and now is one of the patrol department. Over the course of his 10-year career, Sergeant Gare received several trainings to include basic SWAT, crisis intervention, standardized field sobriety testing, and search warrant preparation. He has also completed several leadership courses to include credible leadership through Wake Tech Community College, and he has also received his FBI Leader Trilogy Award. In 2016, Sergeant Garrett also earned his associate degree in criminal justice from Vince Gravel Community College. With more than 686 hours of training combined with over 10 years of law enforcement experience, Sergeant Garrett has been awarded his advanced law enforcement certification from North Carolina Criminal Justice Education Standards Commission. Congratulations, Sergeant Garrett. Federal Bureau of Investigation Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, also known as the FBI LEDA, evolved from an annual seminar that began in 1981 which provided leadership to mid-sized law enforcement agencies. You received the FBI Leader Trilogy Award, Kenneth's Most Complete, Supervised Leadership Institute, Command Leadership Institute, and Executive Leadership Institute. Supervised Leadership Institute to develop first-line supervisor and middle managers to enhance leadership competency. Command Leadership is designed to prepare law enforcement leaders for command level positions, while executive leadership course focused on emerging challenges in public safety and preparing participants for executive level positions. I would like to recognize our community liaison officer, Jessica Law. Jessica, will you please join me? Jessica has over 21 years of law enforcement, the last 3 of which have been with the Creedmoor Police Department. Prior to starting her career in law enforcement, she has over 4 years as a telecommunicator. Over her career, she has served as a patrol deputy, investigator, school resource officer, and her current role as our community liaison officer. Please join me in congratulating Jessica on earning her FBI Leader Trilogy Award.
Amen.
Last award. Wilson Community College and Coastal Plain Law Enforcement Center developed a Law Enforcement Management Institute to provide students with in-service training in 2-day sessions over a 7-month period. Each student is required to complete a management-related project as part of the graduation requirement. In addition, the students study topics such as situational leadership, liability issues for managers, personnel law, and developing community relations with men with youth. During this certificate, students must complete 208 hours of community level management training. Although he is our most recent hire, Officer Adam Looker has shown the dedication and commitment needed to complete this management institute. In his 9 years of law enforcement, Looker has completed several supervisor trainings and worked hard on his career development training. Please join me in congratulating Officer Looker on earning his Law Enforcement Management Institute.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we have no one to request to address the board. We do have public comment. Before I ask you to call your name, just want to go over the rules for public comment. The limit on public comment is no more than 3 minutes per speaker. The limit on public comment should be no more than 30 minutes in total unless the board chooses to extend that time by majority vote. And lastly, discussion between speakers and members of the public or members of the board during public comments is not allowed. First one I've signed up is Emma Albright. If you would, for the record, give us your name and address, please.
My name is Emma Albright. My address is 2516 Angela Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak. First, I'd just like to state and talk about Antoine Downey being removed from his position and why is it taking so long. He's receiving taxpayer money and still being paid for a position that he doesn't seem to be sitting in. He owes his coworkers in the city a public apology, and that's the part of not only being a leader but also owning up to your mistakes. When the previous mayor and I were on the board, we didn't always make popular decisions, but we had 4 great years of leadership, professionalism, and respect for each other. For that, I'm very proud. Also, I did not return my water survey as my water was tested just last year and met all guidelines and standards. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Mr. Craig Bailey. Again, sir, would you please give us your name and address for the record?
My name is Craig Bailey, 312 South Elm Street, Rick on Road. My understand we have a bit of a water crisis going on, situation. Why are we looking at it with a lens of water abundance? Not here anymore. Water scarcity is our situation. In accommodation of this situation, why does our fire department arrange a consistent on their building? 6,400 square feet of roof at 623 gallons per inch of rain harvested properly at 100% gain. It's a big number. It's a really big number, and we would not have to spend any money to filter it, process it, just, monitor amount of filtration and protect the pumps, put the right system in place, you build infrastructure, you get to keep it. Now, I've scoured the internet on this situation, and absolutely no one on the planet is trying to figure out how to do this. This is newsworthy, groundbreaking ideas. Simple, very simple. To make it simple enough that it's robust, maintenance-free. Now, if we pursue this issue, it's got to be with consideration of the hands-on end user, the fire department personnel themselves. They have to be addressed and in on the whole idea, and the whole situation has to be designed for ease of use for them. But when they have 2,850 gallons going down the street to put water on a fire, they don't care where the water came from. The fire doesn't care. Meanwhile, they spend money put out for the Dollar General, and that money could have been saved, not spending out of our pockets and just thrown out the window. I don't see that as logical. We can build a piece of infrastructure for their building, and they got the property. We do. We are a very sparse population for our land mass. We can afford it. I don't know what we're waiting for. Also, the new municipal building we have in construction going on, in further pursuit of drain system system. You don't have to go all out, but as on the engineering level, has anybody considered talking to the engineer for that or the architect to have this system roughly on the design and the building for later consideration continuation, just the plumbing and the piping, just to flush the toilet and the urinal. Sewers are not going to care how we send our bodily waste down the tubes. When we see. Now, that's not much in comparison, but it's also a thought. All right? Look at the idea we're sending also to future generations.
15 seconds, Mr. Craig.
Gotcha. Look at the idea we're sending to future generations. We know we screwed up, dealing with problems, and we're trying. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving into old business. 9A, presentation of final proposed draft on the motion rules and procedures. Our city attorney.
So I don't have a whole lot more for you all besides our discussion last time around. You all should have the most up-to-date version of the draft rules and procedures. You should also have a red line kind of side by side of the most recent version versus the last version. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have, or if you have any additional comments or suggesting revisions, edits, additions, I'm happy to discuss those with you.
Any discussion for the city attorney?
I do have a question, sir.
Mayor Morse, yes, sir.
Okay. Kevin, I was trying to get to the page number. So on page 8 of 10, this is going to be under section 9, deliberation and decision. I was hoping that you could kind of walk us through the burden of proof. This is 9B, that section. And just so that I'm clear, for number 1, and I won't read that whole thing, but under number 1, offenses not related to the public office, but so infamous as to render the offender unfit for public office. And then the second point was offensive amounting to non-criminal misconduct in office, or offenses, or number 3, or offenses that are both criminal and constitute misconduct in office. And where I'm trying to get to, Kevin, and let me just back up and say this is not necessarily related to you. I think it was actually, we approved those minutes tonight, the March 3rd minutes, with regard to the vote of no confidence and calling for the mayor's resignation. Had I been here, I would have voted for it too, because I think we are at that point. I would like to ask, though, under the offenses, not related to the public office, but so infamous, so in this procedure, we are going to be having a fact-gathering exercise, and we will actually build the legal case to support that.
That's correct. So the process that we have laid out at this stage is that the kind of first step would be for this board to adopt these rules of procedure and to authorize that initial investigative fact-finding phase to begin. Whether that's done through my office or outside counsel is up to this board. But that investigator, that fact-finder would be responsible for conducting an investigation, gathering facts to try to determine whether or not there is evidence of sufficient conduct to meet one of those three categories. If there is, a summary would be presented to this board of that evidence, of the potential charges that would support a removal by any motion, and then this board would at that point have the option to decide to pursue further the preparation and filing of the preparation of a petition for removal by a motion. This board would then review and, if you choose to, approve that petition, and that kind of would be akin to filing a complaint in a civil lawsuit. It would begin kind of the litigation, so to speak. Contemporaneously with approval of the petition, this board would also set a hearing on the charges. All of these documents, of course, would be served on Mayor Downey. He would have the opportunity to retain counsel to present evidence on his behalf and in his defense to this board. It is a much more long and broader.
No, that's actually, you took two of my questions off the table, so thank you for that. But no, that got exactly to where I wanted to go to. And just to, if I could, piggyback on Emma's statement about why is it taking so long, which I think is a very legitimate question, quite honestly. This whole procedure, based as I have read it multiple times now, I can't get to that last page, but it appears that this is going to be a multi-month process. This is not going to be something we pass a motion to adopt these rules of procedure and boom, it's done. Doesn't feel that way to me.
That's correct. And so we've discussed this a little bit before, but there is no clear statutory provision. There's no clear law that says an elected governing board of a municipality or city has the right to remove an elected official. Instead, we have this common law process called a removal by a motion, right? And when I say it's a common law process, what that means is that it's a process that's created by court decisions, right? So the General Assembly has not sat down and drafted a law that is then sent through both chambers, adopted, signed by the governor, becomes kind of a clear set of codified procedures. Instead, we have to piece together, the process and the steps that are required based on these handful, and I say handful, I mean it, maybe 5 or 6 cases within the last 100 years where a local government has attempted removal by a motion. There has been a lawsuit related to that process, and then a court has ruled this aspect of the process used in this particular case is okay, this aspect used in this particular case is not okay. So we have to cobble this all together. The one thing that is clear and that is consistent amongst all these cases is that the official who is being removed is entitled to due process and a fair hearing. And so kind of our core goal here is to make sure that there's a clear, and part of what's taking so long is making sure that we have this clearly articulated process that sets out what is expected from all of the parties involved, what rights all of the parties involved have. We've gone through kind of this iterative, revision process. And then each step in this process is going to take time, right? We're going to have to serve a copy of these rules on Mayor Downey. He's going to have the opportunity to review them. We're going to have to serve a copy of any petition for removal on him. He's going to have to sufficient time to consult with an attorney, to review them, to conduct his own factual investigation. We're gonna have to give adequate notice of a public hearing on the removal petition. So I think your point is a good one, that this is not something that I think by law could happen with a snap of a finger. This is something that's going to take, at minimum, several months here.
So in light of that, and Mr. City Manager, I'm not sure, this may be a question more to you than to Kevin. Maybe it is to Kevin, but if we were to approve these rules of procedure, as I understand it, there are dollars that are involved to the tune of about, I don't know, 40 or 50,000 or more.
41, I think, is what was quoted.
Okay, yeah, there are dollars involved. Is there like, a line item identified for this, or is this just coming out of our legal line item?
No, sir, there isn't a line identified. We would have to, do a budget amendment
A budget
on the
amendment?
fund balance to cover this.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to think of the things that we will have to do to get that rolling. And there was another point that I was gonna make, and it got away from me, but, yeah. So go ahead, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Hopefully my other point will come back to me. That's what happens at my advanced stage.
Any other discussion, board? Commissioner Gleason? I'll get you next.
So once
Calm down.
if this
Okay, well, I didn't see the button.
Okay.
once this process is approved, this then becomes with the board and a quasi-legal process. So in other words, nobody on this board can disparage the mayor or say anything that would make them say one thing or the other, how they feel on it, or would not be able to sit down with the mayor and strategize or communicate. Once this is done, again, I just don't want to get things into trouble here, but our current mayor pro tem, who is also a practicing minister, is now providing pastoral care to the mayor. So the current mayor is working with the current mayor, who we're paying as mayor. This right off the bat has got to cause an issue with the way this hearing and everything would go from basically the moment this is filed, even now, because it's already record of that this pastoral care is being done. So, I don't know where we are with this, but I just have a big problem with this, and I want the other commissioners to realize that we're now not only sitting commissioners, our hands are tied as to what we should be saying, or to one of our town people that calls us up and says, blah, 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 blah. And we got the word that we say, we're working on this currently, yada, yada, yada. So now, we've gone from four of us not being able to say anything, and one strategizing.
Georgia.
Well, so, the bottom line is, I would like to think that there is something we could do now that would either remove the current mayor pro tem, as mayor pro tem, let the next elected mayor pro tem, which we've already elected, take over that job until this process is completed. Otherwise, anything that we say in meetings, whether they're public or closed session, the pastor can take back to the mayor.
May I address that, Kevin? You want to
No, I
speak
would like
first?
to,
So what I'll say is, there very well could be conflict of interest issues at play here, and that's something that we would address at the time of the hearing. What I will say is, if, Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins has a conflict of interest that would prevent him from participating in the evidentiary hearing, he would be obligated to recuse himself. He would step down from the step down from the board is not the right way to say it, because he still would be a member of the elected board, but he would not be entitled to participate in the deliberation, discussion, and vote on the removal process. That would also alter the calculation for a majority vote, right? Mayor Pro Tem Vulcan's seat would effectively be counted as vacant for the purpose of calculating a majority. And that goes for any commissioner who has a conflict of interest, right? If you have a conflict of interest, whether that's determined, whether you independently recuse yourself because of a perceived conflict, or whether an objection is made to your participation in the hearing, and a majority of the board find that you do have a conflict, your seat would be counted as vacant. So even so long as we have more than one commissioner who is available and has no conflicts to participate, the board can still move forward with the procedure. But you're absolutely right. I mean, if there are conflicts of interest.
So either by letter, which we all signed, or by personal contact with the mayor right after the situation, we verbally asked him to resign, is not a need to recuse yourself.
Correct. So having expressed a position is not in and of itself a conflict of interest. Really, the important thing is that so long as, and again, I think that there are certain categories, for example, potentially privileged communications between a member of the board and Mayor Danny is a separate issue. But generally speaking, having expressed an opinion or voted in favor of the no confidence vote, signed that letter requesting resignation is not in and of itself a conflict of interest. So long as each commissioner believes that you can remain impartial, you don't have a fixed opinion prior to the hearing that's not susceptible to change, you're generally entitled to participate. Again, so long as there's not some other conduct that falls, that challenges your ability to participate impartially.
Thank you.
So let me address what Commissioner Gleason just said. I want to address that concern about a pastoral counseling session I had with Mayor Downey. Let me be very clear. I was not acting in my role as Mayor Pro Temp, but in my role as a minister of the gospel. The conversation was strictly personal in nature, focused on his recovery, his family, and his spiritual well-being. No city business was discussed. Out of abundance of transparency, I notified our city attorney and this board the very next day, that morning. Our attorney has already confirmed there are no laws or policies were violated. I respect there may be different personal views on this matter. However, it's important that we distinguish between opinion and fact. There has been no ethical breach, no legal violation, and no misuse of office. As leaders, we often speak about accountability. But accountability must also include space for restoration. When someone seeks guidance to rebuild their life after hardship, I believe it's appropriate, not inappropriate, to respond with integrity, compassion, and clear boundaries, all of which were maintained here. If there was specific policy concern, I remain open to reviewing it. But absent that, I stand by both the legality and the morality of what was done. We should be careful not to discourage individuals from seeking help, guidance, and support during difficult times. That being said, as the issue has been raised, and pursuant to Rule 7C, which under conflict of interest, I would have no problem recusing myself from voting on any matter in this motion process. Commissioner Kaminsky.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Kevin, do you have anything to say before I start? Okay. This was not originally on the agenda, and I did put it on, and you've all seen my email. I feel that it is going to take months. You're right, Commissioner Moss. It is going to take months to get this done, but we've got to start somewhere. And I feel that I am ready to approve with the new changes that the city attorney has sent us. I am ready to approve the rules of procedure for the A motion and instruct the city attorney to hire outside counsel. I had hoped at the last meeting, and I made a statement, that I had hoped that Mayor Downey was going to resign, but he has not. And he could at any time, and then this whole thing would stop, so it's not a big deal. But I would like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, that we approve these rules and procedures and ask the city attorney to go ahead and hire outside counsel.
Before I ask for, discussion, attorney, should I recuse myself now?
I don't think that that's necessary at this stage. I think, when that would be appropriate prior to the evidentiary hearing. You're still entitled to participate in kind of the administrative matters related to this, so like approving the rules of procedure, hiring outside counsel, those sorts of things. What you're not entitled to do, again, assuming that you believe you might have a conflict of interest, is to participate in the deliberation on the actual quasi-judicial decision, which is the decision to remove by motion.
I'd like to ask each board member if they would like me to recuse myself now. Commissioner Way? Kaczynski?
Not if counsel says you don't have to do it yet.
Please. Okay. Open for discussion. Motion's been made.
So, I think I worded this wrong. It's to ask the city attorney and the city manager to retain independent counsel to investigate the elected official or respondent's conduct after we approve the rules of procedure.
Motion's been made with necessary corrections. Open for discussion. Yes. Commissioner Gleason.
But your firm and yourself would still be involved in the whole process.
That's right, so I'll coordinate with outside counsel. The reason we're doing this is to maintain kind of an independent and kind of a firewall, so to speak, between my role, which is to provide the terms of the city, acting through the elected body, and outside counsel who will investigate and then potentially prosecute the aim of the removal by any motion. And so I will be involved. I will kind of stay in communication with outside counsel. I will help kind of coordinate outside counsel's investigation, at least as it pertains to, access to city officials, to city property, that sort of thing. But I will not be kind of conducting interviews, according to the factual investigation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Morse.
So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and you and/or the attorney may say this is not part of this discussion. I happen to think it is, and if you rule that it's not, I get it. We'll take it up at a different time. But in thinking about what we're about to do, and believe me, I'm going to vote for the motion to proceed. So I'm not trying to throw cold water on it or anything, but just two other observations, and I did get my thought back, thank goodness. And it's probably going to snow because I'm going to reference them twice in one night. I don't know what's happening here, but at any rate, in terms of looking at what we could potentially do in a more immediate fashion with regard to the mayor, we look at our charter, our city charter. And actually, the mayor's roles and responsibilities are very limited. And I'm looking at section 2.3, Kevin, in our city charter. And I think the answer is going to be no to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Because it says the mayor should be elected, let's get to the point. The mayor shall be the official head of the city government and shall preside at meetings of the board, and shall have the right to vote only when there is an equal division or any question or matter before the board, and shall exercise the powers and duties conferred by law or as directed by the board. So the reason I raise that point, is there anything that we could do while this process is moving forward to strip these powers from the mayor? I think this is part of the general statute. Maybe we can't, but I thought hopefully it's a fair question.
It's a good question, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to give you this kind of satisfactory answer tonight. I think to your point, there are certainly powers that are conferred on the mayor by statute, which we, or you as the governing board of the city of Creedmoor cannot relieve him of. But certainly, this board could relieve the mayor of any authority that's delegated specifically by the Board of Commissioners to the mayor, separate and apart from what's delegated by the general statute. And the reason, I don't have a specific answer to your question. I don't have a specific answer to your question of what, authorities have been delegated by this board independent of the delegation by the general statute. But that's certainly something that I think we could, between Mike and I, I'm sure we could narrow down what authorities have been delegated specifically by the board, and then this board can certainly remove that authority. I just don't know what powers that is off the top of my head.
And that's fair, but I do hope that you and Mike would take a look at that. And it goes back to, I think this would send hopefully a strong message to our citizens that we are very serious about this matter, and that we're taking every possible action that we can legally to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a position that we don't want to be in as we move forward. And so we're kind of a dual track. Then my last thing, and as I was reading in the Code of Ethics in our book, beginning on page 46 through 48, and I found it very interesting that the mayor is not mentioned once in our Code of Ethics for the Creedmoor Board of Commissioners. And again, that's kind of a separate thing, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, but that may be something just for the future we might want to take a look at. It mentions every time commissioners, but not once. And I did a word search on mayor in this document, and not once is the mayor mentioned. I just thought, Georgiana, you're looking at me like you don't believe me.
Commissioner Kuczynski.
Is that the code of ethics that was approved in 23?
I don't know, this is the one that Barbara gave me, so I'm assuming it's pretty up to date. Yeah.
No, because I remember when Commissioner Vince brought us the code of ethics, and at one of our meetings, when we made a modification for it. I'm just trying to figure out.
And again, I'm not trying to slow the
Can we pull
conversation.
that page? Can we pull that page up?
I just didn't realize.
Neither did I.
But his point at that point was only against commissioners, so that.
And I get it, but I don't think anybody anticipated it was an unintended consequence, and we find ourselves where we are. And just so that no other board has to go through this ever again, it may be something worth, and again, it's not necessarily related to the A motion, but it maybe could help us in the A motion process if we ever had to do it again.
So, if I can, you could certainly tonight vote to, amend the policy to make clear that it applies both to commissioners, to all elected officials, acting on behalf of the city of Creedmoor. I think there's a broader point that I think that there's probably a broader revision or overhaul to the Code of Ethics, and also probably to this board, the rules and procedures that ought to be made. But certainly it's a policy document, so there's no reason why the board could not tonight vote to, make clear that the Code of Ethics applies to all elected officials, the mayor included.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it wouldn't be retroactive, though.
Well,
No.
that's correct.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it
Going forward.
extends as a practical matter, I suspect that was always the intention, that the Code of Ethics was intended to apply to the
Entire
government.
board.
The Board of Commissioners inclusive of the mayor. It probably just.
Doesn't say that, though.
Translated to kind of a written product that was ultimately approved by the board. But there's no reason why you could not make that, that clear, by vote tonight.
Yeah, I would prefer not to muddy the water right at this moment. We've got the, Commissioner Kuczynski's, motion on the floor to approve the A motion. So, we can take that up. If it's okay with the board, we can take that up at another time as far as I'm concerned, at least.
Any further discussion? Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, Commissioner Gleason.
Just, now that I want to thank, I keep wanting to say Mayor Moss, Commissioner Moss for his remarks. excellent idea. And I think between now and our next work session, Kevin could look at those policies and put it together so that we can then vote on it then when it's exactly what it should be.
Gotcha, thank you. Great.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Way?
So Kevin, when we get to the part where we are presenting evidence and it's becoming the situation at hand where the Mayor Pro Tem has to possibly recuse himself, who then leads?
So the board, regardless of whether Mayor Pro Tem recuses himself or not, the board will still, under these rules of procedure, appoint a presiding officer. That does not have to be the Mayor Pro Tem. It can be any member of the board, that a majority of the board, or a majority of the remainder of the board after any recusals are made, chooses to appoint to that role. And that would be kind of the first, so from a procedural perspective, when the evidentiary hearing takes place, we'll dabble into evidentiary hearing. The first item of business will be appointing the presiding officer. And then the presiding officer from that point on, and until the evidentiary hearing is concluded, will kind of run the hearing. Following an appointment of the presiding officer, we'll do any recusals, conflicts of interest, or other disclosures that commissioners ought to make of that.
We have one motion on the floor that we're voting on, right? That's to
Yes.
approve the policy. That's still standing, right?
And I believe just so we're clear, I believe the motion is to approve the rules of procedure and to authorize hiring of outside
It'd be
counsel.
the second motion.
I believe that was.
It was all one motion. It was one motion.
Unless you want to separate it out like that.
No, they can all do one, that's fine.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. All right, moving right along. New business 10A, Par F, Ms. McCourty.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here today to provide a Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant update on the project as well as approval to allocate funds to support this project as I work towards the May 1st deadline. The scope of the proposed project, so a lot of this will look familiar from last year, as I was able to kind of grasp a little bit of the project that was already started upon my arrival. But the proposed project adds a playground, volleyball court area, and a picnic shelter area. This is the Creedmoor Community Center, obviously behind the building. A lot of these are top priorities for investment, identified in our master plan, with a lot of those amenities included outdoor recreation and outdoor entertainment. This is a site plan that was created last year, as well, just kind of gives you an outlook of where everything will be, obviously subject to change. So just give us an idea of where all these amenities will be placed, behind the community center. And here is a budget breakdown. Part of does require a 50-50 match, so in the 3-year grant cycle, we will have 3 years to identify these funds to complete the project. So the award for the selection of the project will be this year, in August 2026, and we're provided to require all those matching funds within the 3 years. So included in this project will be the playground equipment, and there's a cost for that. That includes different, I can provide pictures if needed, but that provides some different adaptive playground equipment for ages, probably like, I would say 12 and under. a covered shelter area, which will have picnic shelters on there, a volleyball area, benches, and signage, which make it a really beautiful campus. So the 50/60 match will require that the city identifies, $200,000 and $520. So what I would need from you, I think Mike has already, sent out the elected official form that I will need to work towards my deadline, as well as the approval from the city attorney to identify that we do own that land. So this is pretty much an update, and I will need a motion is provided in the minutes that, this is approved by the board and that we are good to move forward with the project.
There's a motion to commit to 50/50 matching funds for the 2026 RF grant application, or a total not to exceed $223,520 over a 3-year period. Entertain a motion.
I would so move, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem.
Motion's been made. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Motion approved 5-0. All right, moving on, 10B, Mr. Frangos.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, members of the board.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Mike Frangos. I am the Community Development Director, and I am a member of the management team for the construction of the new Creedmoor Police Department and the renovation of City Hall. The resolution before you tonight, number 2026 R07, is specific in authorizing the city manager to approve change orders for the aforementioned project. Invariably, construction projects are fraught with unexpected challenges and changes, things that happen that nobody expects or intends, and we aren't any different from that. Delays in approving change orders equate directly to delays in the completion of a construction project. That's problematic for all parties involved. Our capital budget, as was adopted back in 2025, does have a limited contingency built in, and the attached resolution would give the manager the authority to approve change orders as needed up to $40,000 in cost, until this predetermined contingency is exhausted. When that happens, or if a change order exceeds $40,000, it will be brought back to the board at the next regular meeting for a capital budget amendment. Delays in review and addressing change orders extend approval timelines, introduce delays that could affect cost, scheduling, and contractor coordination, which is a problem for us on site. Normal industry practice puts a $5 million project like ours is with a contingency of around 10 to 15%. Our designated contingency is just 5%. So the total amount set is $225,100. To date, in your agenda packet, included in the resolution, were the known changes. Now, these aren't final. The amounts certainly are not final amounts, but I wanted to make you all aware that certainly these totals are mounted. Right now, the draft total is $118,912. These are proposed change orders. None have yet been formally approved. That would leave us with around $106,000 that would remain in contingency, but of course we have a long way to go in the project. So I've listed for you the best I can the ones that are known with the amounts that have been estimated, and each of these also does include a time extension with them, because as change orders, they do respect or demand a certain amount of time to implement. So the final now therefore in the end of the resolution would be to authorize the managers to go forward with previously known change orders, Authorize the manager to approve future potential change orders up to $40,000. And then if it exceeds 40 and/or exceeds our contingency budget, that would be, we'd return here to the Board of Commissioners for an amendment. And we need this as soon as possible. If adopted, the resolution would be effective today. Are there any questions that I could help answer?
Commissioner Kuczynski.
How come there's no supporting documents for this resolution?
Well, I filled in the whole agenda with supporting documents. There are very many pages that go along with each of these change orders.
And there's absolutely no doubt that any of these numbers are not correct, that they're all absolutely correct.
No, that's what I just said. They are not correct. These are estimates. These change orders right now are pending with our construction administration firm, which is Little. They are reviewing each of them definitively for quantities and totals, and they are going to make a recommendation back to City Manager Turner on the final one. That has not happened in any of these. Again, I just wanted to make you aware of these totals that have been captured.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
There was one point I wanted to point out to the board on the resolution. You can see those change orders listed below 1, 2, 3. What you're not seeing is 4, 5, and 6, and I asked the question to be sure I understood. It's because there's no money involved in those change orders. So that's why those numbers are missing. I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Mike.
Commissioner Morse.
I was just going to make a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to approve those change orders.
Motion's been made to approve resolution 2026-R-07. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
No.
It passes 4-1. Mr. Flaines.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners. Tonight, I bring before you the financial summary for the month of February. Same format as every month. Today, I'm going to do property taxes, we're at 93% collected. Expected to collect that and some property tax revenue. Sales tax, we're at 53% collected. So this number is projected up to December, so that you will know that sales taxes are 2 months behind for when we receive them. So total revenue collected, general fund revenue collected is 44%. General fund expenditures, 75%. Let's go down to stormwater fund revenues, 129%. Collected stormwater revenue, which includes the stormwater fees collected by the county and also issues earned on those funds. Stormwater fund expenditures, 53% are spent. Our bill fund revenues, we're at 101% collected of total power revenue, so both allocations of power revenue as well as the interest earned on those funds as well. And 22% of power fund expenditures to date at the end of February. As you know, we have projects that we have to get, and we have to spend a certain amount by the end of this year, or the state will cut back our funds that we don't spend, or we accumulate too many funds, and so expect to see some expenditures here in the next 3 months, basically, until the end of this fiscal year to be spent. Anyone have any questions?
Any questions? All right.
Just one.
Commissioner Gleason.
I don't think you see any reason why we should be concerned about any of the uncollected funds.
No, some of these items, we just haven't collected yet. Some items are based on citizens' participation, so rentals, recreation rentals, sponsorship, those things are driven by citizens, their contributions to they rent the gym, they rent the willows, and, some other funds we have received, the utility franchise tax, that's a big fund, portion of the funds we receive, they're released quarterly. They're always slow in releasing those funds, so this doesn't reflect portion of those funds as well. So some things just haven't been collected yet based on timing, and a lot of it is really driven off of citizens' participation as well. Outside of property tax revenue, just hopes that they won't pay their property tax. But each building holds around 99% collection rate. So, my estimation is that we will collect all of our property tax revenue, as well as our sales tax revenue, projected collecting a little bit over in that as well. Those two being our main sources of revenue for the city.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Ms. Fan, you're up next one, yours also, budget amendment?
Yes, sir. So this amendment is just to appropriate the funds, for you all to at the last meeting for the late Roger position and track affairs of the task order that was presented to you all by Mr. Barkley, our city engineer, and you all approved. At the time, the amendment was prepared into timing, for this amendment, just appropriate $52,480 for those, task orders that were approved at the last meeting.
Any questions?
So Lee, where's that little list that you always do for budget amendments?
I thought about that today, that's the first time.
I just realized it was
Yeah,
missing.
But if you look at the fundamental appropriation, you see the total funding.
Yeah.
At the end of this amendment, so I'm sure it's not gonna happen like that.
It's all right, just makes it easier, that's all. Thanks.
That's it? Thank you, Lee.
Motion to approve, Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wade, all in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you, Lee. We're down to item 10E, designation of voting delegate for the NCLM. The summary of the issue is the NCLM bylaws provide that each member municipality is entitled to one vote. Voting is done by voting delegates. Each member municipality is allowed to designate one voting delegate for consideration of the proposed slate for the nominating committee. And our rules, under Rules 36, says the mayor shall open the floor for nominations. Members shall put forth nominations of qualified applicants and debate qualifications. When the debate ends, the mayor shall call the roll of the members. Each member shall cast a vote for his or her preferred nominee. The voting shall continue until a nominee receives a majority vote cast during a single balloting. That being said, I open up the floor for nominations for this position.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Kuczynski since she is attending the NCLM.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on that nomination. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. All right, moving on. Board of Commissioner Rules of Procedure, Commissioner Kuczynski, that's yours.
Thank you, sir. So at our last meeting, Commissioner Way stood up and told us all that he was stepping down from the Seguasa Board and made a motion to give his seat to Mayor Pro Tem Wilkins. And I knew then the rules of procedure were wrong, but I waited to see if anyone else was going to bring it up, and then the motion was called for, so there was no time to push it any further. But their appointments are made by the mayor or mayor pro tem, and nominations are made from the Board of Commissioners at that point, unless they agree with what the mayor or mayor pro tem suggests. That was not done. I'm concerned that we're getting away from the rules of procedure. That night was a little confusing for a lot of situations. And I don't believe that a vote would change things. However, I would like to see it corrected and, make sure that our rules and procedures are followed. I'm really surprised Commissioner Moss said you didn't pick this up when we were in the middle of it, because you were mayor for 18 years, so you know this better than any of us.
I actually disagree with your premise, and I will explain that when I get the opportunity.
Well, the Rule 36 is very clear on this, and, that's why I'm bringing it up, because the rules were not followed for this situation. And because of that reason, my nomination of Mr. Gleason was not considered. And I don't feel that that was a fair way to do it, not when we have rules that are the way that they are. So, I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention, that the rules we need to follow the rules for everything. And I thank that we just did this on the designating of the voting delegate for NCLM. That was the right way to do it, and I appreciate that. But I would like to see us follow the rules, all of them, going forward. I didn't defer to our city attorney that night. I probably should have, but I didn't feel that I had the opportunity to do it, so.
Yeah, and again, I'll also say, I think we've talked about this, I think the rules of procedure ought to be amended for a lot of different reasons, but in particular, Rule 36 has potentially contradictory language in there. You've got subparagraph A that says, the mayor, acting under the direction of the board, shall make appointments to any and all authorities, committees, boards, and other bodies under the jurisdiction of the board, or to which the board has the authority to appoint members or representatives. That appears to grant this board, or to grant the mayor, or in this case, Mayor Pro Tem acting as the mayor, authority to make certain appointments, provided that he's authorized to do so by the board, which I think is probably what this board did at our last meeting. On the other hand, subparagraph C sets out a separate process, but doesn't really provide a clear distinction about which circumstances the sub A appointment process versus the sub C appointment process works, or in which circumstances those different processes apply. Sub C is what you described, that each member makes each member of the board may make a nomination, and then you go through this roll call voting process until one nominee receives a majority of the vote. That one says the board shall use those procedures to fill a vacancy in any other body over which it has the power of appointment by soliciting an application. And it's not really clear to me which process, A or C, applies with respect to filling a seat on Seguasa. Now, I will say that I think that you're right that there is a legitimate argument that C applies because the board is filling a vacancy on another board. But I don't think it's fair to characterize what the board did at the last meeting as wrong. I think that there's certainly an argument to be made in either case. And again, I think that brings us back to I think what is ultimately your point, and certainly what you and I have discussed, which is that the rules of procedures ought to be amended to specify, and that either eliminate one of those processes and make the remaining one applicable to all appointments that this board makes, or to specify what circumstances kind of the streamlined appointment process in sub A apply, and which appointments the kind of the nomination and roll call voting process set out in sub C apply. I think we've also talked about other things like the second rule and all that.
That was the next thing that I was going to talk about, is I would like us to consider bringing back the second rule that we have taken out of our procedures. I just feel that it would make things a lot easier going forward and save us a lot of time if we could do put the second rule back in, but that's not for me, I guess, to do it by myself. I don't know who drafted the original rules of procedure here.
It was not me.
Well, I know it wasn't you. Do you remember who drafted the rules of procedure? Not you. he's got a bigger history here, so he would know.
Oh, no, this was before me. I mean, after me. We didn't have this when I was here.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
Are you done?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Commissioner Way?
I was gonna, when did we get away from the second? I mean, I know it's been here since I've been, but I mean, every other board that I'm a member of
As a second.
has a second.
I agree.
Because if you have a motion on the floor and it fails to get a second, it automatically fails.
Fails now.
I don't know when the city went away from it.
I don't know that, I'll speculate, there was a point in time where the board's meetings were rather contentious, and that this was probably an effort to cut through and move things along more quickly, avoid, discussion or debate, a certain amount of discussion or debate, but I think you're right, I think it's just it's much more common to require a motion to be seconded before any action can be taken.
And this is jumping down a rabbit hole, but, if everyone's in agreement, I'd like to put this on our discussion items at the next.
Yeah, and I know Commissioner Kuczynski didn't speak to me, but my first time on the board from 2015 to 2019, there was a second, those 4 years.
This was when we went to the, School of Government Rules, that little purple book. Mr. Crutchfield told us we had an opportunity to do the seconds or do away with the seconds, and I believe the board at that time, and that's 2020, voted to remove the second. That's what I remember about that, but I'm willing to put it back in because for savings of time, like Commissioner Way just mentioned.
Commissioner Morrison, I'll go for consensus after that.
Ed's got something too.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were first. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay? Okay. So, let me take the second first. It's hard to say. Let me take the issue of the second first. So that changed with the city. Again, this was after me, but I do keep up with things. It was after the city went away from Robert's Rules of Orders and adopted these rules. And good news is, just being at the School of Government municipal training, that is basically the difference between those two rules. There are a few other minor things, but the second is the big one. And that's when that changed, Commissioner Way. But getting back to Commissioner Kuczynski's discomfort with the Seguasa board rep, and this was my reading, Kevin, and I agree with you. And I think I could agree that there also is an inconsistency in our rules, because it's pretty clear, at least in my mind, the mayor acting under the direction of the board shall make all appointments to any and all authorities, which I think is a key word in this particular situation, committees, boards, and other bodies under the jurisdiction of the board, or to which the board has the authority to appoint members or representatives. So I interpreted that as the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, which makes me conclude that the action that the board took was legal and appropriate. Now, I do agree that under 36C, nomination and voting procedure, the board shall use the following procedure to fill a vacancy in any other body which has the power of appointment by soliciting applications. And just as I, learned today, even on planning board, we're now, we have applications. So that's where that nominating procedure would come into play, which again, we just did that with the league's voting delegate. So any other body, I think, is the differentiator there, at least it is for me, but I think the board was clearly in its authority, no pun intended, but to make an appointment to the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, based on the language that we currently have. And if we want to clear that up, I would definitely support that as well, but I think the motion was appropriate and was carried out appropriately as well.
Commissioner Gleason? Excuse me. There was no real nomination. There was I make a motion to appoint. There was never closed nominations or open nominations. And my biggest problem with this whole thing
is this whole board has changed, and everything here has changed because of water. If it wasn't for water and the public comments and Facebook and whatever, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I'm really proud of the people's concerns about water quality. What bothers me is when we had Commissioner Way resign from Sigwasa, that the people that were so concerned about the water quality appointed somebody who was the least qualified. And Commissioner Way must have had something of that in his mind because he didn't vote. That's a problem. That's a problem. The person who nominated the person to be didn't have, I don't know, didn't have it in his heart or whatever to vote for him. So he abstained, which is not a proper thing for someone who nominated somebody to do. And I feel for Robert Way and his commitments to kind of people to try to, I never became a member of this board to make a deal with anybody. I've never made a deal with anybody on this board. And I'm not sitting here to make deals, but I'm sitting here that I tried, and there's people in this audience that know because we sometimes attend Sigwasa meetings together for years and years and years. There's only 2 people on the Sigwasa board that have attended more Sigwasa meetings than Ed Gleason. Yet, the people that are really worried about the water appointed somebody who can't remember what was going on the board when he was on the board years and years ago, and hadn't attended a board meeting until he became mayor pro tem. We got a new mayor elected, and he got appointed because of a deal. I'm not here to make deals with anybody. I've never gotten a call, or I've never gotten many calls. I got more calls this week about what's going on in our city council than I've gotten in 4.5 years. 4.5 years. So the only thing I want to do is, I don't care if I lose, and then if I'm nominated and lose, but the bottom line is, I want to have a new whether I have to make a motion, and this would clear the whole thing up. I'm gonna make a motion to remove Archer Wilkins from the Sigwasa board.
Motion's been made, any discussion? All those in favor of that removal, vote aye.
Aye.
Motion fails 3-2. Any further discussion?
No, I just want the public to know that we've just appointed someone to the Sigwasa board who is the least qualified on this board to be a member of that board. Thank you.
Moving right along.
Can I ask a quick
Yes, sure can.
I am not sure that we resolved Commissioner Kozinski's.
Well, I was gonna get to that.
Okay.
I was gonna ask for consensus, if we look at the rules again, to include, at the very least, going back to a second. Do we have a consensus?
Are you making a motion?
Just consensus at this point.
So would it be helpful if, well, I suppose maybe for your April work session meeting, if we prepare like whether it's a list or a red line version of the rules of procedure, but something with a handful of whatever proposed revisions or amendments we might suggest that you consider.
Do it all at once.
Right, and that way we, rather than kind of trying to do this piecemeal one at a time, that can at least be the beginning of a conversation about whether there are other revisions to the rules that you'd like to see, or would you rather just start with just the second rule? I don't think there's I don't think there's a particular a right choice or a wrong choice, but I just want to make sure that we're preparing whatever this board would find useful for your work session.
I think the side by side.
Yep, have a consensus. All right, moving right along. Manager's report, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, at the March 17, 26 work session, the board directed the city manager to proceed with negotiations with Granville County to transfer the Creedmoor Police Department's Communications Center to the County 911 Center. This draft of an interlocal agreement for law enforcement dispatch services has been prepared and will be forthcoming to the board as soon as it is reviewed by the county attorney before it comes back to you guys. Water quality surveys were mailed out to city residents on February 11th. Of the 1,781 surveys mailed, we currently have 190 have been returned. The deadline to return your surveys is May the 11th, 2026, and a report will come back to the board in your June meeting with the results from that survey. Finance Director Faines and I met with individual department heads in late March to review their 2027 departmental budget request. The original request, along with the manager and finance director's recommendations, will be coming to the board at the April 21st, 2026, which is your first budget work session. Attorney Tui Amos with Guerin Law Firm, representing the owners of Watson Street property, informed me last week he is in the due diligence period and as specified in the offer to purchase contract, and will be finalizing the closing of all parties, he hoped, by this week. We'll see how, if he gets that ready. The current SOR agreement with Granville County and the Granville County Public School System will expire on June 30, 2026. The actual cost of services provided has been recalculated and communicated to Granville County and the school system for review and inclusion into a contract amendment. If accepted, the amendment will return to this board for review and your final approval. Mayor Pro Tem, that concludes my comments subject to board questions.
Any questions for the city manager?
Were you talking about the SRO agreement?
The SRO agreement expires.
SOR, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I
SRO
wanna make
agreement.
sure I was on the right page.
Okay.
Anything else? We'll move down to glossary report. Commissioner Way. You have anything?
At our last meeting, we discussed and approved contracts for generator maintenance and biosolids management service. These two contracts were pretty much extensions of the original ones that were just renewals. I had a discussion item about the Church Street maintenance and repairs, and those questions were answered. There were public comments concerning the sanitary sewer project and the blasting associated with it. Further, the questions were, how do they get informed about this? So expanding on the water quality policy and the educational information part of it, let me share. Let me take you to the Sigwasa website, and if you watch the screen, Barbara's she's gonna walk me while I talk. We are extremely lucky to have a very talented PIO by the name of Crystal Lee, and she has done a phenomenal job of updating the website and keeping it current with the information needed by our customers. She has made this website very user-friendly. So let's take a look. We're on the Sigwasa website right now. We're going to go down to register our engineering projects. Police project report archives will take you to the monthly executive director project reports by month. This will inform you of the projects in process and the status of those projects. All right, and go back one. If you want to know about what Sigwasa is doing, you can go down to register for alerts. That is down there. There it is. And you can register to get alerts on maintenance issues. You put your email and your phone number and choose the alerts you want to keep up with right here and subscribe it. And let me tell you, it works. I'm getting at least, Robert, we get about 5, sometimes 5 a day. Barbara, if you take us back to water quality. No, not that one, that's it. If you click on this picture, it will take you to a video of how the water treatment process works. There's a video and an audio part. Furthermore, it will provide you with a link to submit your water quality questionnaire from this page. This is how Sigwasa becomes informed of any good or bad issues that you are having. They will update their database with the information provided in real time. If you go back one more page, there's another, on the top, water quality questionnaire. That's just another link to the same document. They will update their database with the information provided in real time, and let me tell you, there was no such thing as a database in 2020 when I got on the Seguasa board, and Seguasa has worked very, very hard to make one. I had a customer complaint the other day, and Executive Director Schroyer took me to that database, which was an overview of the street that this man lived on to show me where the fire hydrants were, how many complaints with the neighborhood and everything else. It is truly amazing what they do to keep track of the repairs and the complaints that they get. If they don't come through the correct way, they can't update their system. So when you enter all your information in here, please review the information that you provide so they can contact you if you want them to. We did see that we have had situations where we went to an address, tried to contact the owner by email and or phone, and it bounced back because the numbers had changed or there was a mistake in it. So that's what I wanted to bring to you tonight about the Seguasa website. Thank you, Barbara, so much. I've attended 2 Finance Committee meetings to prepare for the proposed budget for the next fiscal year, which we will discuss at our next meeting. And I'm proud to say that in the proposed budget, if approved by the Board of Directors, it does not have a rate increase this year. When I joined the Finance Committee in 2020, the first thing I requested was a rate study, which was done by Reftalis, because rates for commercial and residential were basically the same. The only difference was the size of the meter. After reviewing the study, the Finance Committee decided to change the rate structure to remove the 2,000-gallon minimum on all statements. This was mainly because so many customers were not using 2,000 gallons a month, however, they were paying for them. This seemed totally unreasonable to me and the Finance Committee, so we took that down. In 2022, that change was approved by the board, and the minimum charge for a 3/4-inch meter went from $86.84 to $44.64. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Way? Commissioner Kaczynski?
I'm gonna need water if you're gonna make me talk all this. I attended the Chamber of Commerce dinner in Henderson, and it was lovely. Sat at a table with Mayor Nurse and his city manager and a commissioner, and several jokes were made by others at the Chamber of Commerce dinner about taking away the Creedmoor representatives' drinks tickets, which I didn't think was very funny. It was embarrassing when they called for the representative from Creedmoor to stand up, and he was not there, but I'm starting to get used to that. I also attended the CBO meeting with my favorite veterans, and we discussed fundraising. As I previously stated, I attended the Seguasa Finance Committee meeting. Then there was the UNERBA meeting, where I expressed my feelings regarding the fact that Creedmoor residents pay Seguasa for their water and sewer. They also pay for the water provided to the Raleigh residents. I further stated that when Falls Lake rules came into existence, Seguasa was challenged with filtering nitrogen and phosphorus to meet the expectations of the rules, which was very costly to the customers of Seguasa. Further, we now pay UNERBA to assist with the rules, and the association has invested $11 million to study the watershed and develop a new approach for nutrient management. There was a long discussion about DEQ regulating chlorophyll A in the water at Falls Lake. The Falls Lake 2 rules are still not completed, and that was the UNERBA meeting. I also attended the NCLM Legislative Policy webinar. I attended the funeral for Planning Board Steve Fawcett, where I met his family and learned that he was an excellent cook. And I believe it was Mr. Frangos who stated he didn't know he was a cook. He never brought food to any of the meetings. I attended the Campo meeting at City Hall with Commissioner Moss and appreciate the fact that I was included in that. And lastly, I attended the County Commissioners meeting last night. Last month was Women's History Month. There was no proclamation done for that occasion, but I'd like to thank some of the women who've made a major difference in Creedmoor, such as Merle Edwards, the first city manager for Creedmoor, Mildred Goss, who was a great historian and served on the Creedmoor Planning Board for many years. Keisha Brusmeyer Brown was a commissioner, Emma Albright was a commissioner, Nina Nowell was a commissioner, and Del Mims was a former commissioner. This is Alcohol Awareness Month, which is a serious issue and has been brought to light by the actions of the current Creedmoor mayor. Had another car, perhaps carrying a family, been traveling north on Highway 15 the night of Mayor Downey's bad judgment, they may have been killed by his car, which was facing south in the northbound lane. The publicity for Creedmoor that has been generated by it is not very pleasant for many of us. And many of us have been questioned many times while shopping, going to doctor's appointments, receiving phone calls, or even going to church. It also brings to light the sudden death of State Trooper Stephen Perry on March 1st, who while traveling on Highway 147 was hit head-on by Melshawn Moore, who was traveling in the wrong direction and hit Trooper Perry head-on. Mr. Moore was previously convicted of 3 separate DWIs. According to investigators, they believe Moore was intoxicated at the time, and his driving privilege was permanently suspended for those prior offenses, but he continued to violate the law until he took the life of an outstanding civil servant. Trooper Perry is survived by a 9-month-old daughter who will now grow up without ever knowing her father. Trooper Perry was only 30 years old. Our judicial system and state legislators have failed us by not making stronger laws and imposing stronger sentences to stop these instances from happening. Also, April 13th through 19th is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and I would like to thank the Creedmoor telecommunicators and our own Commissioner Way for their outstanding work and always being there for our citizens or whoever is in need and on the other end of that phone. Their work is stressful, but they always remain professional. Thank you for being a helpful voice on the phone in times of need.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So we had the one-on-one Campo meeting that I sent out an email to staff and board members asking for input into the things that we should be discussing with them. And that meeting was attended by Chris Luskina, who's the executive director, and his 2 deputy executive directors, Shelby Powell and Alex Wicker. From the city's attendance, we had Commissioner Kaczynski, Commissioner Gleason, myself, the city manager, Mike Frangos, and Dallas Tucker. You know, you may note we had 3 commissioners there, but I checked with Kevin, so we should be okay there, just to make sure we don't get into violating any public meeting laws. Just a couple of quick points that were brought up. I think Commissioner Gleason made an excellent point that many of our traffic woes here in Creedmoor are created by external forces, as I believe you put it, traffic that's passing through. Commissioner Kaczynski pointed out that the Sequasa I-85 sanitary sewer project, that Creedmoor currently, and this is something that I actually did not know, that the city of Creedmoor actually has 2,500 homes currently on the books. So we're about to get some even bigger challenges, I believe. We shared with the Campo folks some output from the North Falls Lake area study that we are in the growth corridor in the Granville County. They are projecting 12,500 new homes in Granville County by 2050. So again, we are kind of at ground zero here. Mike Frangos talked about the LAP project, or the, I'm sorry, not LAP project, but the LAP program for potential sidewalk projects, and we kind of talked about maybe looking at the Hawley Recreation Site as a potential destination for some of those sidewalks. And additionally, we talked about microtransit for our senior citizen population here in Creedmoor. And one of the things that the Campo folks kind of encouraged us to do is to look at potential partnerships with Butner and Granville County, which I think we all agree is a good idea. And then lastly, again, we didn't take any official action because we couldn't, but obviously the Hillsborough and Highway 15 four-way stop there is kind of a big complaint for many of our citizens. I know that others are working to pursue the $375,000 that's needed for a traffic signal, but in the interim, we ask if Campo could help us talk to Division 5 about possibly taking away the 2 stop signs on Highway 15, put it another way, putting it back the way it was. So haven't heard back from them yet. I'll follow up in another few days, but that is basically the report from that meeting. And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, that's it for me.
All right, Commissioner Gleason.
First, I want to thank Mayor Moss for creating that meeting with Campo. It was very informative and we learned a bit. I attended 2 county commissioner meetings since our meeting. Our last legislative meeting, I've attended a CWASA meeting, a CARTOG meeting via Zoom. And again, I want to bring up the telecommunicators and how right now we're trying to figure out how to get the telecommunicators in part of the first responders group. When I was a fire chief years and years and years and years ago, we had a county manager who actually said in a letter when we asked to get more money for the 911 center and the call telecommunicators, he actually said online you could teach a monkey how to do that job. When you see what 911 communicators do, how they walk people through incidents, how they are the first responder in a lot of first calls. So I just want to, again, go along with Commissioner Kuczynski and say that I want to thank the telecommunicators and the fact that our telecommunicators are going to be taken over by the 911 call center in Oxford. Again, it will work and we will have really good trained telecommunicators there. That's my report. Thanks.
My report on Thursday, March the 12th, I had the absolute privilege of speaking to 5 classes of 3rd graders, 92 students strong, along with their 5 teachers at Mount Allergy Elementary School. I want to take a moment to speak about something that deeply matters to me, and that should matter to all of us. We have the privilege to serve peace, respect, and unity. In our last meeting, there was a breakdown in the level of professionalism and decorum that this board should consistently uphold. Disagreement is not only expected in public service, it's healthy. It's how we sharpen ideas and serve our community better. But there's a clear line between passionate disagreement and conduct that undermines respect for this body. When language becomes inappropriate, when exchanges become personal rather than focused on policy, we risk eroding the public's trust in us. The citizens we serve expect and deserve leaders who can disagree without being disagreeable, who can engage in tough conversations without losing composure. Board members can attack me personally. That speaks more to their character than mine. I stand on Psalm 105:15 as my defense. I want to be clear. I stand fully committed to open dialogue, accountability, and doing what is best for our community. That includes discussing difficult issues like infrastructure and water quality. But those discussions must be grounded in mutual respect, tonight, notwithstanding. Moving forward, I hope we commit ourselves to a standard of conduct that reflects the seriousness of our roles and the dignity of the offices we hold. Our community is watching, and they deserve the very best. Lastly, members of this board, some have said that we have become fractured. But my greatest desire is that we have moved forward in both peace and unity. Peace must first begin with the heart. It calls us to love one another regardless of differences in our ideology, to walk in humility, to treat each other with dignity and respect. When we do that, we demonstrate a kind of peace that our constituents can clearly see and trust. If we truly desire peace on this board, then our focus must be on building bridges and not tearing them down. Likewise, unity does not mean that we agree on everything. Unity means that we stand together on what matters most. It is built on respect, honesty, and shared purpose, not merely on words. Because words alone are not enough to bring people together. With that said, entertain a motion to adjourn.
We don't have a closed session?
No, we do not.
We do not, okay.
Motion is made to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye.